Good afternoon and welcome to you all. My name is Daniel Cairns. I'm the head of enrolments here at Fourth Rev, and it gives me particularly great pleasure to welcome you today to this webinar featuring a current learner on the program that we're speaking about, obviously the Data Science with Machine Learning and AI Career Accelerator in collaboration and partnership with the University of Cambridge Institute of Continuing Education. It is a special event. It is our first featuring a current learner on the program for this particular Career Accelerator. We here at Fourth Rev partner with many universities to deliver amazing learner experiences for the career development that you are seeking. And I've hosted many of these, but it is particularly exciting to be hosting the first one with a learner for this particular program as well. But this is about yourself as well and your journey of discovery about what program might be best to suit your career needs. So I do encourage you to engage as much as possible throughout the event by popping your questions in the Q&A box. We'll use the chat for assets that we're going to provide you along the way, links to different materials and so forth. But once I start speaking with our guest, if you can pop your questions in the Q&A and feel free to vote each other's questions up, I'll get to the most popular ones first as well. I'm going to provide an overview of the program very, very briefly, then introduce our guest and go through a number of questions that I'd certainly like to pose, and then get to your questions as quick as possible. The program commenced this year for the first time, and we're fast approaching on October the 7th, the third cohort of this program as well. For those of you that are not aware, it is a unique offering, the Career Accelerator model, because it is co-designed with both Cambridge and industry at the same time to ensure that your learning is both rigorous, as you would expect, but also the skills that you obtain are in high demand from an employer perspective. Industry told us they don't want just the technical, they want the business application of technical, and you'll see that that's woven through all of the content within the program and is a key component of this. The structure of the program, it's completely online over a 7-month period. It's made up of 4 courses and 1 live industry-facing project at the end. Course 1, Applying Statistics and Core Data Science Techniques in Business, runs for 6 weeks with a week's break in between. Course 2, which is Solving Business Problems with Supervised Learning, again, a week's break before Course 3, Applying Advanced Data Science Techniques, which is a bit longer. It runs for 10 weeks, but we kindly provide a week's break in the middle there, in the midpoint. Before Course 4, that runs concurrently with the employer project, Course 4 being the future of data science, generative AI and ChatGPT, and the industry project. To frame the industry project quickly for you, it is a real point of difference in the program, but yourself, along with 5 or 6 other high caliber learners, will be grouped together in a team and meet with one of our industry partners, such as the Bank of England, who thoroughly support this program. They'll present to you a big data and data science related challenge that they either currently experience within their organisation or have at hand. And you as a team, applying the learning from your first 4 courses, will come up with innovative and tangible solutions to that scenario, presenting your recommendations back to the Bank of England or one of our other partners in a consultancy style presentation at the end. The benefits of that are numerous. Firstly, it's a practical application of your learning in the real world. This whole program is practically applied learning. There are no exams, but this is doing it in a real business scenario with one of our industry partners. So that's a great benefit. Secondly, it's an amazing opportunity to network with senior leaders of industry, but also your fellow peers more deeply. And lastly, be it you're looking to change careers into data science or advance your existing career in data, it is a much more powerful demonstration of your value to a prospective employer to relay a story of how you've worked with someone the likes of the Bank of England on a project such as this than it would be to recite an exam result, for example. There are no exams in the program. You're instead empowered through the submission of mini and major projects along the way to be assessed on them, and also to have them develop your portfolio of evidence. That's a much more productive outcome to your education, if I can put it that way, than an exam would ever be. We feel that examinations are very, very pertinent in some industries, but not productive in this one, for example. Therefore, to have a productive outcome and build a portfolio through your submissions along the way is going to enable you to demonstrate your competencies to an employer in a much more beneficial and, I guess, powerful sense in that regard as well. The entry, you're supported in a number of ways, and it is delivered, as I said earlier, completely online. There is a blend of synchronous and asynchronous delivery. It's about 20 hours a week, so this is rigorous, but there is a live session each week with the Cambridge academics, usually either a lunchtime or an evening session. Those sessions are also recorded should you not be able to attend live. And then the majority is asynchronous, meaning you can choose when and how study fits in with your life, as opposed to fitting in with a university timetable, for example. You are also supported not only by the Cambridge academics, who we have such a brilliant working relationship with and who are so passionate about the program, but there is also an industry mentor along with a success manager. And for most learners, surprising benefit, the greatest advantage of the Career Accelerator model is also the addition of an executive style career coach. The career coach plays a pivotal part in your acceleration of your career. During the onboarding process, you'll go through a rigorous goal setting exercise, and then your coach will pick up your goals, meet with you on a monthly basis for a 50-minute coaching session to help you achieve your intended outcomes sooner through the highlighting of your transferable skills, along with your new skills, alignment of values with like employers, interview preparations, and profiling on LinkedIn and resumes and the like as well. Whenever we survey our completing learners from all of our career accelerators, the relevancy of and the practical nature of the content is always the highest benefit. Second only is the career coaching aspect, which you may or may not be aware of, but I thought I would make you aware of. We have a really diverse range of learners coming through the program already. And I might touch on that a little bit more when I speak with our guest about that. But your peer-to-peer networking is very, very important, an important aspect of the program as well. The entry criteria is that you've studied quantitative units at a minimum of a bachelor degree level previously. This is aimed at postgraduate, and you have at least 1 year of professional experience, not necessarily in a data specific role, but a role that certainly accesses and uses data. And I'll touch a little bit more on that as well. We are proud to also provide you a number of payment options for the program. The fees are £8,395, including all of those coaching sessions. And we do offer the opportunity of reducing that through an upfront payment, or offering interest and fee-free payment plans that I'll touch on a little more as well. The next cohort commences onboarding on the 7th of October. We cap our numbers. There will be 90 only available for this upcoming presentation, of which there's a fair percentage that are filled already. The reason we cap our numbers at 90, for example, would be for two reasons. One, there is academic and coaching capacity constraints that we have to obviously take into account, but it's more important that we consider the learning experience. If we felt to open this up for 200 or 300 learners globally, as I'm sure we could, it would dictate that, for example, there may need to be 15 or 20 learners on an industry project teamed together, which would therefore dilute your roles and responsibilities within that project to the point of it being of lesser value, and we don't want that. So that's why we will be capping the numbers at 90. Just a reminder, Q&A questions in the Q&A, your questions in the Q&A function, and we'll be using the chat function as well to give you some assets that are already in there as well. The best thing that you can do from this meeting is book a time with your enrolment advisor if you haven't already spoken with them, or alternatively, chat with myself. But without further ado, I feel like I've spoken too much already. It gives me great pleasure to welcome our very, very special guest today, Zarif. Zarif, welcome, and thank you ever so kindly, not only for your time today, but your insights you're about to share. Welcome. How are you? And if you could just introduce yourself and what you do as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zarif. Nice to meet everyone. My background is in chemical engineering, which I have a master's in. I'm currently on the data science career accelerator with the University of Cambridge. My work experience over the last couple of years have been in product management, product specialist, engineering, project management, and software engineering. And yeah, that's me.
Well done. Thank you ever so kindly. Look forward to learning more about your experience in the program. But I guess along the way, Zarif, you were considering your career options and the like, and you obviously started looking for programs. And initially, what caught your eye about this particular career accelerator?
I think for me, what stood out for this career accelerator over other programs that I looked at was the employer project. Being able to experience what it's like working in an industry, being teamed up with an employer. Like for me, I felt like I knew that I'd be getting taught skills that employers would really value. And of course, like a company like the Bank of England is really big. So
Exactly. And you've got that to look forward to in a few weeks.
yeah, about 3 weeks from now. Looking forward to it.
You're quite the pioneer choosing the first ever presentation of the program, and we're so excited to have that your cohort and yourself approaching now the industry project for the first time. In terms of I guess give us a picture of what a week looks like in the course. How do you juggle study with your other work?
So for me personally, I actually quit my job and moved back in with my parents to study this course and just have some free time. But I know people who are on the course and they're juggling work and studying. For me personally, I treat it like a job. So Monday to Friday, I usually finish the course by like Wednesday. Um, but I know, like I said, like people who are studying and working. I know one person who had like they were given 1 day off per week to help with studying the course, and he would finish it in like 2 days, which is a bit more efficient than I am, but I have a bit more time and luxury, I guess.
And the more you put in, the more you get out of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, how practical? I mentioned it in my introduction, it's a practical approach to learning, but how practical and applicable do you feel it is for real world data science scenarios?
I can only speak from my experience. I haven't really done data science like at work. I've just been like a software engineer, but I feel like it's quite good. Like the demos that we have like pre-recorded like tutorials on how to like write some code and um, start working on your own projects along with like the activities, which is essentially like almost like homework. You could think of it like go away and like create like a mini project, which you have like like at the end of each course you have like activities and projects, which is basically assessing your actual skills on data science. I thought those are quite good. I learned a lot at the end of the project, at the end of the course.
And they contribute to the development of your portfolio as well.
Yeah. So I'm actually working on like putting those in my portfolio, so that employers can see like the work that we've done.
Yeah, that's an important aspect of it to have that productive outcome. I guess in terms of prior to commencing, how technically proficient were you? I mean, we've got people that have not ever coded before that go away and learn Python to then join the course, and others that are, highly capable and technically minded. How technically proficient were you prior to commencing?
Not particularly. Reason being, so yes, I might have worked as a software engineer. Yes, I might have done some coding at university, but when I was starting the course, it had been like, I don't know, like 2 years since I'd done any programming. And at that point, to be honest, I was pretty much like beginner intermediate level. So I was doing like my own like studying beforehand. But actually, when I started the course, I realized it wasn't really necessary, because they kind of like ease you into building more and more complex code. It's not like you're just suddenly thrown into like really complicated code and expected to know everything. It starts off with quite simple programming languages. So yeah, actually, even though I spent some time beforehand trying to prep for it, I actually felt it wasn't really that necessary. It was helpful. There's never going to be a point where like doing less is going to be bad, right? Sorry,
Yeah,
doing more is going to be bad.
that's exactly right. Just a reminder for everyone to pop your questions in the Q&A function if you can, please. That would be excellent because I'll monitor that, not so much the chat. Um, um, which aspect of the data science career accelerator do you find to be the most useful so far?
I think for me, it's the projects at the end of the course. Like that's when you can kind of like see what you've learned, and when you look as you go progress through the course, like I look back at what I did in course 1, I'm on course 3 now, and like, you know, I can see where I could have done better because I've learned so much over the course, over the time period. And yeah, like that's kind of like where you kind of have to put everything that you've been learning over the last couple of weeks into practice. Yeah.
I guess there's a couple of questions. There's many questions coming through, and we're going to get to them as quickly as possible. I've only got one or two more if I can indulge myself because I'm most interested as well. I guess how do you feel connected to your fellow learners? It's online, but how well connected are you? And I mean, this will change, especially with the upcoming project and team that you work on. But is it great interaction with other learners?
I think it depends on like you as an individual and your cohort, I guess. So you have like your community page, like Circle, they call it. It's like a community hub for like learners to connect. We also have like a WhatsApp group chat just to, because like, you know, like it's a bit easier to just like message someone on text than a community page that's like almost like Facebook, you can think of it. Yeah, I mean, you can be as connected as you want to be, really. Some people don't like to get too involved. Some people do. We've gone for like drinks during like the break periods. We've, you know, just have a chat and had like one-to-ones and calls and stuff like that. So it's really up to you. Like if you want to be really connected with like your peers, you can be. Some people don't want to be because, you know, you're all coming from like different ages, backgrounds, stages of life. Some people have kids, some people are already busy with work. If you think about it, if you're working 40 hours a week and then you're doing this course, which is another 18, 20 hours, probably don't have much time to actually meet up with or like talk to your peers so much. And even myself, who's got more free time, it's like, you know, it's only so much you can do, right? So
Yeah, exactly right. Um, in terms of then the live sessions with the academics and the like, run us through what they look like on a weekly basis.
so it depends on the like professor, like the lecturers, like they all have like their own different kind of styles. Some you might like, some you might not like. I've generally found all the lecturers really helpful. They're all really nice, always happy to answer any questions. Typically, I mean, I so like each professor had kind of had like a different style. Like I think our first one was very academic, so it was very like university kind of like lecture where you have like PowerPoint slides and just running through that. Second one was a bit more free flowing, which I liked, and then our current one is like probably the most free flowing, where it's like he'll bring up like a collab, which I guess you might not have heard of yet, but it's essentially where you would do a lot of like your programming in and just run through the code and like make it really interactive and like kind of just do it on the fly. Some people might not prefer that. I like the interactivity of like saying, okay, well, things aren't always going to go perfectly right. Something might go wrong and you have to fix it. It's like, oh, why? And it just gives you a bit more time to digest and think, oh, okay, this is what you might do.
That's excellent. That's really, really interesting. Lastly, for me, how the other supports that you receive is obviously success manager and career coach. How have you found the other supports enabling you to be successful in the program thus far?
Yeah, I think career coaching is something like everyone should really like do, like probably throughout the course of your life, not just when you're doing a transition. Because one of the things you don't really realize is like, you know, as you go through, as you age and you work and do various jobs, you know, there are certain jobs that you're going to be doing throughout your life that make sense at that point in time, but doesn't make sense later on in life. And some people become comfortable and just stay in the same workplace doing the same job for many years and they hate it and get bored. But actually, it's not that the job was bad, it's that it just no longer fits you as a person because you go as a person and then there's different things that you might want to achieve in life, right? And I feel like career coaching really helps you see that and understand that you can change your career without as much difficulty as you think. It might take some sacrifices in certain places, but it can be done. Just a bit harder than staying in your comfort zone and just doing the same job for 10, 20 years, right?
Good on you. That's a really, really, really good advice. And you're right. You're exactly right. We have many, many career changes. And often people do, and even with Cambridge, there's the element of the imposter syndrome as that many people do experience as well. But those supports, as you've said, and having also the coach enabling you to be empowered to make that career leap of faith as well is what it's all about. Okay, I had some more questions, but I've got I can see that some of them relate to exactly what I was going to ask anyway. I'll get through some. I might reserve some for the end, but we'll get through as many as we can. So please, just a reminder, pop your questions in the Q&A, as many of you have done, and we'll get to them now. Can you put Bank of England as Daniel's asked this? Great name, Daniel. Can you put Bank of England as work experience on your CV after your placement? Yes, we've been running the Career Accelerator model for over 4 years now with LSE in data analytics, and we run them with Kings. And there's been some great examples of learners placing how to place this on your CV and LinkedIn profile, and your career coach will be able to greatly assist you with that. One for you, Zarif. If there are no exams, how are you assessed? Great question from Sarah. Thank you, Sarah.
So the assessments work through the end of course projects. You basically are given like a little project with some business context. You have like a brief that walks you through what you need to include in the project, what the pass criteria is, and you just have to go through that and submit it, and it's pass or fail. So yeah, that's basically it.
Excellent. Some brilliant questions coming through, and some of them overlap, but I'm trying to couple a few together if I can. I'm going to ask this one first, actually, and I'm going to couple this with your intended outcome of obtaining a data science role early new year. Sufyan has asked, how can this course provide a strong chance of obtaining a data science job compared to conducting projects independently? Do you want to have a go at that one first?
Yeah, so if I understand the question is how does this career accelerator help contribute to securing a data science role? I think the biggest thing is like there's loads of courses that you can do. I think there's loads of boot camps on like software engineering, programming, all of those things. But this was the only one that I saw that actually did like an employer project. I felt like that was the key differentiator. So I would say that's the biggest thing, because a lot of companies, when you start applying for roles, one of the first things they're going to ask you is like, so what can you tell us about, what experiences have you done that relate to this role? And you immediately have the employer project you can talk about. Otherwise, most people end up having to refer about like university studies, or maybe they don't have anything. And that's, if you don't have anything, that's really hard. Like your first job, whether it's data science or just in general, is probably your hardest one to get because you have no experience. But with the data science career accelerator, well, going into, you probably already have some like experience already that you can talk about. But then now you've also got the employer project, which is data science specifically focused, that you can talk about. So I think I didn't see anything else like it, so I thought it was pretty good.
Excellent answer. And thank you for the question, Sufyan. Also, someone's asked, in line with this, and I'll elaborate a little more as well. They've asked here, this is a fairly new course without examinations. Do employers consider this to be as rigorous as, e.g., a master's courses or other well-established accelerators? Yes, because they've designed it. One of the most simple ways of answering that. The true engagement of industry in the design of the content has been paramount to all of our career accelerator successes thus far, but particularly it will be the case with this one as well. Coupling that with obviously the brand and the rigor that the University of Cambridge brings, and the employer recognition that has. In answer to that second question, I think this will be held in higher regard as our other career accelerator graduates are. Employers are looking to this because it's also a blend of the best of academic rigor, but also industry requirements. So they know that the content and also the learning outcomes are exactly what employers need. As I said at the top of the intro, it's not just the technical, it's the business application of the technical that employers are seeking and not finding with master's graduates and the like as well. Is that a fair summation from your perspective, Zarif?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I can't say I've ever had an employer ask me about any exams that I've done, but you know, at university when I did like projects, that's what they want to hear about. So what kind of projects have you done?
Yes.
What kind of like people skills do you have? What kind of business understanding do you have? What's that kind of thing. I'm personally really happy that it isn't exam focused because I don't really think actually that's a great way of assessing how well you do something. I mean, like in the workplace, you don't really ever do any exams. It's all like essentially just projects that just never end. You just get more and more projects, and I feel like it's the right way of doing things.
You're exactly right. And that's what's so appealing to an employer, is that what you've been taught is completely relevant. I guess the other thing to consider for everyone when you're looking and comparing many, many options that are available to you is the age of the content. I think in a world in which I'm going to recite a quote that I've used a lot lately. It was a former Australian Prime Minister that told me this, and she said, Daniel, the pace of change has never been this fast and it will never be this slow again, which I think is telling. Therefore, it has always been the challenge for universities to keep up with the pace of change of industry. This brings it together, obviously. And I would question also, when looking at many, many other programs that are available to people, the age of the content, because honestly, if it's more than 12, 18 months of age now, it's a lot has changed in that time, as you're all aware, no doubt. Anonymous has also asked, is this course suitable if you are joining back after a break in the career in the industry? Absolutely. And the career coaching, I think, is the centerpiece of you obtaining that successful transition back into industry. So absolutely, you'll get all the support that you need and more. And the career coaches and everyone involved will have a great deal of empathy, enabling you to make that transition back into the workforce. Peter asks, of you, Zarif, what have been some of the challenges that you've experienced in the program? Is it the time? Is it technical? What are some of the challenges? Great question, Peter.
Hi, that's a tough question. Can we come back to that one later, maybe? I'll
Yeah,
try and think about something.
absolutely. And I've got some examples of challenges that others may have experienced that we can come back to. Let me just jot that down, so I don't forget, because we've got heaps of questions to get through. Kenneth has asked, do you need any specific gadgets or I assume software or anything like that to start with? That's all looked after on and during the induction process. Rayo, hello. I know I've spoken with Rayo before and I need to again. Let's catch up, by the way, Rayo. What's an example of an industry project? How many people are in each team and how do you expect the roles to be split? That's a great question. You haven't gone through the project preparation team events yet, have you?
Not yet, no.
Maybe I'm best answering that one. So there are a number of industry partners in which people can nominate that they would prefer to work with according to your intended outcomes. There might be a non-government organisation or a really heavily commercially focused strategy piece around global expansion and data science techniques to evolve strategy. And the Bank of England have got a number of different project examples. So Rio, and for everyone, you nominate what you would like. We then look at different skill levels. So we don't want, we wouldn't, for example, want to have 5 or 6 fintech focused people on the same project. We want a diverse range of people within the project and geographically as well. Not everyone's in the UK. We have to look at different time zones as we do in business today. I'm here in Australia. Obviously, we work globally. So there's a lot that goes into the development and the allocation of the teams, always with your best interests at heart. An example of a project may be one where the Bank of England, for example, know that with policy decisions and announcements, there's so much data that sits around how that is perceived across different platforms and mediums and media outlets, different geographies and different demographics, to bring a big data science project together to disseminate all that data that is both available publicly, but also the privately held data sets that the Bank of England hold, to come up with strategies around announcement processes in the future. Maybe an example of a project that they may come up with for a quick example. So there's huge amounts of data that sits behind that. If you think about social media scraping, also print media, television media, all the different council areas, all the different geographies and all the different demographics that sit behind the digestion of a policy announcement by the bank. That's a huge amount of data in which to work with and to come up with innovative solutions to the challenge that they experience with that. Technical support. I think a few people have asked this. So is it easy to get technical support whenever you need? And someone else has asked, how do you access support on the technical aspects of the course, e.g. if you're stuck on code or the group projects? If so, how do you coordinate with other students? We'll come to that. But how do you get the technical support that you need?
So there is a Python technical expert. I can't remember the exact name title, but if you have any issues, you can speak to them. I personally haven't used them that much. Most of my issues I tend to be able to resolve through ChatGPT, or I might ask like someone on the course if they have a similar issue. Generally, that's how I go about it. So far, it seems to be working. I've passed everything. So
Yeah, you have. Well done. There are a number of supports, obviously, with the academic support in the live sessions. And I should mention to everyone, if I didn't earlier, the live sessions, even though there is a choice, they are recorded. If it's your birthday, the last thing you want to do is attend a university session. But it is compulsory to attend at least 80% of those sessions or watch the recordings of at least 80% of those live sessions. There is the convener as well that is there to support. There's the peer support network that we've put in place, and also your student success manager for anything course related as well. Thank you for those questions. For students who are working, this is Zahin. Thank you, Zahin. For students who are working, what opportunity is there to bring a work problem in to be solved as a part of the course? I might answer that one quickly. There's more the opportunity of taking the learning to solve the problem at work rather than the other way around, I'd have to say, because first and foremost, the course has been curated both to meet the academic demands and requirements that Cambridge obviously have, but also the learning outcomes that the content has been designed to deliver. So we couldn't guarantee that with someone bringing that in. And then also there's with the supports that we just mentioned, they may not be familiar with that scenario within your workplace to be able to guide and provide you solutions. So it's more about taking the learnings to the workplace and applying them as best you can, or as succinctly and professionally as it enables you to do so. But that's a great question. Thank you, Zahin. Here we go. One for you, Zarif. Given that you are relatively close to finishing the course, have you started applying for jobs? What have prospective employers asked you about the course, and did you find it credible given it's such a new course? I know your strategy, but do you want to explain, I guess, how you've managed to use the career coaching flexibly to meet your intended outcome, I guess?
yeah, so I didn't want to start a job immediately after starting the career accelerator. I did want some time off. I'd come back fairly recently from living in Japan for like a year. So I just wanted a bit of time off, to be honest. And so for me, my goal was to try and secure a job for like January, February. And so it was a bit early for me to start applying, although I did apply for a role many months ago. I didn't actually get an interview at that stage, but it was still very early into the course. I just really liked the role, so I wanted to apply anyway. In the coming weeks, I'm going to be applying a lot more. My CV is pretty much ready. I'm working on getting my portfolio ready, so I can have that linked to my CV and on my LinkedIn. I don't really think you'll face any issues with the newness of the course, because it's part of the Cambridge. You can even send them like the brochure of what is covered and taught throughout the course. And at the end of the day, they're going to ask you in the interview anyway. I don't think that's an issue really.
Good to get practice in knowing what employers are seeking, doing that early. But you've also put off some of your coaching until it is
Yes.
time to apply. How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, the career coaches are really flexible. We had a chat about what my like goals and timelines were in terms of starting to work, and they were like, yeah, we can kind of like put off the career coaching until a later stage for when you're actually consistently applying for roles and getting interviews, and that's when the career coaching is going to come in most useful. But obviously, I've still had like a session or two beforehand to just get like my CV ready and just like introductions and stuff like that, which is still useful because some people I know in the course didn't even go through that, even though they might be wanting to apply like similar time as me. It's worth getting to know your career coach sooner, and just having those introductions and talking about what you are aiming to do by when and why, because then you can both work together to make a plan.
Exactly. Varric has asked a similar question about your career goals and what you've learned about the job market during this course. Is there insights? I mean, there's also masterclasses that have been hosted throughout as well, and there's some AI questions coming up that I'll touch on as well. But do you get a sense that the skills provided are in high demand at the moment when you're casting an eye over what roles are available?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of my friends works in HR at Virgin Media, and she does a lot of like uh, a lot of looking at this in terms of the data. And she said, at least in the UK, the tech industry and data role especially is the one area in the UK that is still growing, even throughout this whole year of like where things haven't been going so well for the economy. I think I went to like a SaaS workshop, and they were saying that in the UK there's just like massive demand for data roles, and employers are struggling to like find people suitable. They said something like thousands of jobs being available, and I'm on like LinkedIn and various other job boards, so I do have a look sometimes and see what is out there. And you see big companies, small companies, all looking for data roles like data scientists, machine learning engineers, those kind of things. So it's definitely in demand. And yeah, like absolutely.
Yeah. Jerome's asked a really, and I'm skipping ahead through some questions to stay on this theme. Jerome, really pertinent question here. Have any of your career goals or ideas of your next step evolved or changed as you've progressed through the course and worked with the career coach?
Not for me personally, no. I don't know if that's because, before I started the Career Accelerator, I started working at a graduate scheme. So, I had 2 years, 4 different jobs for 6 months. And then I went abroad for a year living in Japan. So I had a lot of time to think about what I want to do. I mean, the whole point of a graduate scheme, I think, is to figure out what you want to work and do, right? So I kind of like had a lot of time to think about that and decide that already. Hence the data science career accelerator. I guess for some people that might not necessarily be the case, but that's one of those things you can talk to your coach about, and they can help you with that kind of thing. I mean, that's exactly what they're there for, because a lot of your career coach will be someone quite experienced, right? They will have worked in industry for like 10, 20, 30 years. They'll have kind of gone through all the life stages that you're going through now, all that uncertainty. So yeah.
That's a really good answer. And to elaborate that for everyone's benefit and Jerome's benefit as well, how it may change for individuals and where the benefit lies so much in the professional career coaches that we have on board is things like values alignment. And that may even dictate whether you go for a large corporate type role where it might be quite siloed in the tasks that you're asked to perform, or as someone else that mentioned here that they've got, someone else has mentioned, I'm 34 with a senior data focused job role, good Python experience, decent theoretical understanding of ML and AI, but little applied experience. Is this course right for me? They'll also flesh out, it may be a smaller fintech startup where you're going to be responsible for so much more than a large corporate environment. It may be that your values align better with a charity or a for-purpose organization, and that needs to be taken into consideration. So through that coaching process and your self-discovery as well, that's where those goals and intended outcomes may change somewhat or may not. But that's certainly the opportunity that the open discussions and coaching element provides. I'm going to jump to a little bit more on the portfolio projects if I can. The course description mentions 20 plus portfolio projects. Can you provide an example of what one of these look like? Thanks, Zahin. That's a good question.
I can go through if you want. I can try, yeah.
While you're having a look, I'm just going to answer John's question. How often do you get to chat to the course tutors? That's weekly, John. And do you talk to them in groups or individually? It's synchronous. That's the synchronous component with all learners. Is it on Zoom like an interface or text? It's certainly on a webinar style setup, such as we're doing tonight. Sylvia's also asked, do people from different cohorts get in contact? Less so, but that will change also, Sylvia. It's a really, really good question. We've obviously only had the 2 that have commenced and the 3rd one's about to commence, but there will be events that we host both virtually and in person as well for learners and graduates. So there'll be also the opportunity of interacting in those sorts of events as well.
I've got one open. I can share my screen if you want.
Yeah, please do if you're comfortable doing so. And if it's not,
I don't really remember it very well, so I'm not going to take any like detailed questions on it because it's been a couple of weeks since I've looked at it. But just generally, you have like the business scenario, so they kind of explain to you what the data is, what the objective is with the activity, and what the assessment is. I'll just leave that there so you can have a little quick look through. This one specifically was looking at like crime incident data within Baltimore. And one of the things we were doing was learning an ARIMA model and using that to do some forecasting. So, you just initially load the data, get the data ready into the right format. From there, one of the things we looked at was autocorrelation. And eventually you do some forecasting and you compare that with what the actual data looked like and what the forecast looked like and how it compared. I did it twice because I wanted to use 2 different like plotting methods. One was a bit more interactive, which I preferred this one because you kind of like hover over it. And then you just compare different like metrics to understand like which ones work the best, because we in this specific activity we created like 5 different models, and then you kind of need to decide, okay, which one performed best. Did the one that we in this specific instance we use like auto ARIMA, which kind of like determines for you what the best performing model is in theory, or if the pre-configured ones that we specifically chose parameters for performs better. And in this case, actually the auto model selection did not perform the best, and the ones that we picked ourselves actually performed better. And that might happen, that will happen in the real world. You're not always going to have something figure things out perfectly automatically, right? So it was a cool activity to do, and that was one of the things you're supposed to learn, I believe. I thought anyway.
And we're obviously past that, but Jerome's asked, what type of feedback do you get on your submitted work?
So I think in the first two courses, the feedback wasn't overly detailed. It was more just like, yes, you've done this, you need to improve in this kind of area. I felt it could have been more detailed for the first two courses. In the third one, I think the project that we submitted, the feedback was a bit more detailed, and I like that. And I like that because it's helpful to know like where you're going wrong and how you can do better. I will say, yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to whip through some questions because I'm conscious of time and your time as well. How did you find, given that example you've just provided, thank you. How did you find the learning curve with Python?
I thought it was fine. I mean, so like I said, before I started the course, I was like doing like kind of like a data science like boot camp from like Udemy. It was like a couple-day thing. You just kind of like do it at your own pace, and that I feel like that was really helping me like become better at writing Python. But actually, over the course of the course, like I've been, I feel like understanding how to like read and write code better just because you're doing it so often. And I do use ChatGPT a lot for sure. Definitely helps. I feel like understanding the fundamentals is really important because with ChatGPT, it makes programming a lot easier. But if you don't really understand what you're doing, what the fundamentals really are, that's where you might struggle. Because if you try and anyone who's used ChatGPT will know that like if you try and get it to do something really complicated immediately, it's going to do it wrong. But if you understand the fundamentals, understand what should be right, what shouldn't be right, then you can make it do more complicated things, but you kind of need to like ease into it.
Yeah, you must control the journey.
Yeah, exactly.
And that brings me to Ali's question. Would the course help me develop AI and machine learning powered products and services? There's another question regarding product as well. But in your opinion, is that going to assist Ali?
AI powered products.
Yeah. So will the course help me develop AI and machine learning powered products and services? I guess the application of learning in any aspect will certainly enable that.
Yeah.
And given your product background as well, you can see how beneficial that would be. There's another question. There's heaps of questions coming through. Just to let everyone know that I'll get to as many as I can, and I'm happy to stick around for 5 more minutes afterwards. But Daniel's asked, are there any elements of product development for incorporating the data science into the feedback loop components? Does that resonate with you, Zarif?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yes, certainly. Are there any elements of product development for incorporating the data science into feedback loop components?
I would say no.
Yep. Daniel, if we want to catch up and elaborate on that further, we certainly can. Rahil's asked, is the project with employers for all cohorts always Bank of England, or are they other different ones? No, there will be different ones, although Bank of England will be a constant. They'll have projects for all cohorts. We've partnered with them on a long-term arrangement, but there will be others always available as well. Let me get to some other questions. We said we'd come back to it, and I promised that we would. I've got certainly an example of challenge that I can relay to people, but is there anything you want to add regarding what's been the biggest challenge so far?
Um, I don't think I've really had too many challenges because I guess like for me, probably it would have been more challenging if I hadn't like, when I started this course, I was like, I want to treat this as a like 9 to 5 because all of my friends are working. So I want to be free when they're free. And also it's just easier if you have like a consistent routine for studying because then, you have your time available to just do other things. Like I feel like I've learned from my experiences as a student when I was doing my masters and stuff, and feel like I'm a lot more productive now. So I think just having good time management has helped me. It's not really like a challenge, but it's more like, like I've just taken it really seriously. So it's meant that like going through the course has been fine. Like sometimes I'm ahead. Like I wanted to go on holiday during like a break period when I started the course, I didn't really realize the break periods, yes, they're a break from studying, but they're also time for you to catch up. And like your submission of like your uh, course projects are during the break periods. And I had like a holiday, 2 week holiday. So I had to like study a bit earlier and like submit 1 week before the deadline. That was probably the biggest challenge, because I was like, am I going to have enough time to like get it done? And I think around that time, the success managers were like really helpful with like the project and stuff. So it helped.
Oh, that's good to hear. I think there'll be a few challenges that other people can experience that may be working at the same time, but I think everyone faces the challenge of commitment first. Committing to yourself, but also I feel it is so powerful to include others in your commitment. You obviously did with your parents, and others, but it's so important if it's family or if it's colleagues or if it's friends that you have to say, look, I can't go out, Friday nights for drinks for a little while because I'm committing to furthering my career or changing my career by studying this program. Um, if the children are understanding of mum or dad committing to the better themselves through learning, and therefore producing more income for the family in the future by doing the program, that they can buy into that decision, and understand that Saturday mornings are mum or dad's study time and I can't interrupt them. And there's sacrifice and commitment. I think to be organised and committed to yourself and lean on the supports that enable you to develop positive study habits online. It's certainly doable for everyone, but it's hard for some as well. And that, I think, may be the biggest challenge. I don't think, many people will think it's the technical challenge, but I don't think that is the case. It is designed to bring you in and take you through a process of it getting more and more rigorous and technical along the way. So, but always what is best is to have a chat with your career advisor, your enrollment advisor, which will be either myself, Otto, or Sonia. We will guide you through your decision-making process with a great deal of empathy, because we understand it's such an important life decision and an investment of both time and money as well. I'm just going to check that if there's anything else I should have been doing with the last few minutes. We'll come back to your top tip in a moment. Enoch has asked, is there, yes, you do need to pass courses to progress. It's a pass or fail assessment. So you can't fail, for example, the 3 courses and then participate in the employer project. You will need to pass along the way. It doesn't mean that you necessarily, if you submitted one project one mini project, for example, and weren't assessed as successful on that you couldn't then be successful in passing that unit or that course. It's the overarching one at the end that is most important. So could data points be shared on where and how long after the course people got a point? Good question. I can't share that data as yet because the first group haven't finished yet. They're only up to, when I say only, they're up to almost the end of course 3. For our other career accelerators, there's a lot of information around how successful 90% of our learners have been in the 3 months and 6 months following the completion of the career accelerator and obtaining their career outcomes. But there's also some that aren't seeking a career outcome. There are many learners that are seeking new skills to add to their existing roles as well. We cater for those that are seeking to change, those that are seeking to advance their existing careers as well. Jerome's asked, this is really helpful. Thank you both. Zarif, do you find yourself supplementing the course material with other sources to really understand the concepts? Great question, Jerome.
So for me personally, most of the time, no. Generally, I rely on just the course. There are times where like other people will kind of like recommend videos in like our group chats and be like, oh, I really struggle with understanding this. And that's typically when I go out and like watch those videos, because like, sometimes it does help to have like a second perspective. I don't know if that's because maybe I don't understand it well enough, or because I just do things like really consistently and just often, like any teacher will tell you, if you're trying to learn something, if you do something often and just small amounts, not trying to like cram everything all at once, you'll learn things better and like understand things better. And that's kind of the approach I've taken. So far it's been working. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Almira's asked, and this will be probably my last one just before we get a wrap up. Almira's asked, and someone else has also asked, Selman's asked about the LSE data analytics program. And Selma asked, where did that question go? Sorry. How does this course differ from the LSE one that was mentioned? And Elmira's asked, do you have a series of courses for those who do not have work experience? Yes, in short, the content is completely different between data analytics and data science. So that's the main difference. The structure is very similar. There isn't as much a work experience component required with the LSE data analytics one, but please reach out to us and we'll give you some information on that one as well. There's a couple of questions remaining, and Sam, if you can capture those questions in the background, I'm going to reach out and answer them post event or tomorrow. But I'd like to first say thank you to everyone because it's been so engaging from the audience with so many questions and even some that we haven't had a chance to get to. I hope we've provided enough information for you to understand a great deal more about the Career Accelerator and the potential benefit it may provide you, whether you're looking to change careers or advance your existing career. Before I say thank you to Zarif, I'd like to ask Zarif, are there any last thoughts or points that you feel beneficial for the audience as well? Hang on, you're on mute.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying, if you get on the course, just be consistent. Especially if you're working, don't try and cram everything because you're really going to struggle. Other than that, I really like the value-driven like career coaching. Some of like the group sessions that you have with career coaches. You have like career coaching. I don't know what it's called, but it's like you have like the career coaches and like a group of students, and they kind of just walk through various things like imposter syndrome and stuff like that. I thought they were really good, and especially the values-driven career coaching. I feel like that's something that's like applicable in a lot of areas of life, not just like working, like relationships, various things. So it's one of those things that's like you're not really aware of until it's pointed out to you. Things like negative internal monologues, like you don't really realize until you recognize it in either yourself or in other people. And I feel like it's just really interesting, and I think it's really important.
Good on you, and thank you ever so kindly for your insights. Have been invaluable, and that summation was exemplary. May I wish you, on behalf of all in attendance today, and thank you for everyone attending, that you do well in the remainder of the program, and that we wish you all the best in your upcoming career change. That will no doubt be successful, and we look forward to celebrating that, as is our North Star metric as an organisation here at Fourth Rev. My final comments are for the audience in saying now that you've taken a first step or an additional step to learn more, it's time to actually put it into practice and make a decision. And that decision may be to download a brochure, or I think the best thing that you could potentially do is to book a time with your enrolment advisor. Just a word on that, we are extremely busy and booked, as you can imagine, coming up so close to an intake. For those of you in attendance, what I will do, if you can't access myself or Otto's calendar within the coming days, I'll host a live drop-in one-on-one where we can talk via camera. So your camera will be on, my camera will be on, and we'll have a Q&A specific to your application or your circumstances and things like that, as well as taking individual bookings along the way. So please do click the link to book a time, download the brochure if you haven't already. There'll be a lot more information. This session will be sent around as early as tomorrow or the day after for you to revisit some of the insights that Zarif has provided, that we thank him so much for. on behalf of us all at Cambridge Institute of Continuing Education and the team here at 4th Rev, once again, thank you, Zarif, and thank you all for attending. I wish you all the very best and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Thanks, Daniel.
Well done.
Bye.